How are you? You're on with Marty Keegan.
Hi, Mr.
Oh,
Mazursky.
great. How you
are
doing?
you, Mr. Mazursky? Very good.
I'm great. I'm glad I got the call.
How's the rehearsal going?
The rehearsal's going very well. I wish I had another few days, but we're going very well.
Yeah. Well, I was just telling everyone, talking about your amazing career, 5-time Academy Award nominee, and you've done so much. And,
thank you.
Well, we thank you. I mean, what blows my mind, I'm getting ready to direct my first film this year, and I look at your resume, and it's a bit intimidating. 5-time Oscar nominee for screenwriting. You've directed Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Moscow on the Hudson, Harry and Tonto, Bob and Karen, Ted and Alice. I mean, these are classic films, and you've acted in everything from the Twilight Zone, the original ones, to Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And I was killed. And I was killed on The Sopranos. They shot me dead.
And you live to tell the tale here. That's the best part.
Yeah. No, I've had a wonderful career. I'm lucky. I started as an actor. Then I got into nightclub comedy. That led to acting in reviews out here. I took over Second City. And one thing led to another, and I started writing for the Danny Kaye television show. And that got me into writing movies. The first one I wrote and sold was I Love You, Alice B. Toklas, with Peter Sellers. And that got me on the road. The next thing I did was Bob and Carol, and then on I wrote and directed 18 movies.
Well, what do you like doing? Movies. What do you like doing best? Did you like it all, the whole process?
What I like doing best is playing with my grandchildren. You know, look, the honest answer is they're all, if you're in a good thing with good people, they're all good. They're all enjoyable in a different way. The most challenging, obviously, is to direct a movie that's, you know, really got stuff in it. And that's challenging. But I never made anything I didn't want to make. So I take the responsibility for whatever people think of it. And last year I made this documentary in the Ukraine called Yippee, which was a great pleasure. First time I made a documentary.
How was
and now I'm directing
over in the Ukraine?
The Ukraine, it's about 25,000 Hasidic Jews who go there every year on Rosh Hashanah to celebrate the death of a very famous rabbi named Nachman, who said, if you pray at my gravesite on Rosh Hashanah for 4 days, 3 or 4 days, I will take all your sins on my shoulders, and you'll have a great year. This year there were 25,000.
I can just tell you, Paul, he never met my family because there's a lot of sins there that I don't think he'd want to take on. But that's
he has big shoulders. You know, I'm not religious. I'm not religious, but it was a great experience.
Yeah.
So I like doing all these things. You know, unless you get in with a weird crowd, you know, with like too many producers and too much this or egomaniacal movie stars. I've never really had that. I've been very lucky. Very lucky.
Do you think part of that is doing the comedies, the type of people that are doing the comedies as opposed to some heavy drama?
No, they've all been great. When I did, it all depends on the people. I had no trouble with, let's say, Robin Williams. He was great, Moscow on Hudson. I had no trouble with that.
Well, when you're working with Robin Williams, does he stay to the script, or is he improvising to the point of driving you crazy?
No.
Or?
He stayed with me. He stayed to the script.
But what do you do with a guy like? What do you do with a guy like that? Do you say, give me one take as I wrote it, and then I'll let you do one any way you want?
No. He does what I wrote. He does the script, and sometimes we improvise a little bit just to get the right feeling, but we end up back at the script. Hey, if he has a great line and I like it, I'll use it.
Right.
Woody, I directed Woody Allen.
And what was that like?
It was great. He's got total respect for the fact that you're a director because he knows about it. And the only problem with Woody Allen is he likes to do one take.
Right. Does he make suggestions?
I really mean it. He likes to do one take. What?
What's that? Does he? Does he make suggestions? Does he make suggestions?
Nah, very little, very little. He'll say to you on page 72 where it says, "I cry," he says, "I can't cry." So
Wow.
I said, "Do whatever happens. If you don't cry, it's okay." You know what I mean? And that's what he did.
I wish that was me. I spend half my time bawling. But anyway, tell me about The Tempest, which was just released. And Cassavetes is one of my heroes as a director and is a natural actor.
Well,
I just love him. And
Tempest is a miracle movie to have gotten made. Let's start with that. I mean, I wrote it for a studio that then the studio the guy who put up the money left that studio. That was Alan Ladd Jr. at Fox and formed his own company.
Right.
And he had just done Star Wars and all that stuff. He's a great guy. He did 4 of my movies. Laddie did Next Up Greenwich Village, Harry and Tonto, An Unmarried Woman, and Willie and Phil. All great experiences for me.
Now, how do you go in and you pitch The Tempest to studio heads? I mean,
I pitched it to Laddie, and he said, "Go write it," and I wrote it. And they liked it, but they formed the Ladd Company, and they thought it was too risky to do as the first picture. So the next person I brought it to was Frank Price, who was running Columbia, and he just loved it. And he gave me, I think $13 million, and I made that movie.
Wow.
John Cassavetes, Jenna Rollins, Vittorio Gassman, Susan Sarandon, the great Raul Julia. And I had the time of my life. It was wonderful. 7 weeks in Greece. 8 weeks, actually, in Greece.
Did you have any time to enjoy it when you're there? Because you're so into what you're doing.
We went every day. We'd go swimming for about 2 hours in the middle of the day when it was very hot, and the sun is so hot you didn't want to shoot. And my arrangement with this crew, which will take 2.5 hours off, and you guys do whatever you want to do. So we work like the morning, take off for the heat of the day, and then resume as the light went down a little bit.
I guess that's great motivation for people to get it right the first time and not do 100 takes. Scorching heat.
Well, when it gets into advice about how to shoot and how to make a movie, I don't give it only because everybody works differently.
Right.
They really do. You need a great crew. You have to be lucky.
Do you work with the same crew on every film, basically? You have your group?
Well, I worked with many cameramen several times, but I've had great crews, and I would say there are a lot of great crews. I mean, I had very good crews in New York, very good crews in L.A., fabulous crews in Italy. Maybe the best. I hate to say that, but maybe the best. I have Australian.
Why? What made them better?
They're around beauty all the time. They grow up with beauty.
Right.
Italians. They grow up in Rome, and those places. You can't turn your head and not see something gorgeous. And so they're very good at composition and color and painting and art, and they're serious. But at the same time, they like to have a good time. So you give them wine for lunch. You don't give booze to any other crew, except the Australians bring their own beer. And they're very good. They're very hard workers.
They're partiers.
I had an Australian cameraman 4 times, Don McAlpine. He did Tempest. He did Moscow on the Hudson. He did Down and Out Beverly Hills. He did 4 of my movies. Then I got Fred Murphy, who did 4 of my movies. He did Enemies: A Love Story, which is, I would say, one of my best movies.
Yeah, I think so. It's a great...
It's a powerful...
Weren't you nominated for an Academy Award for that film?
For the writing. And
right.
The 2 actresses were nominated.
Paul, that counts in my book.
Oh, yeah. But I won the New York Film Critics for that movie for the best direction.
Oh, that's great.
And the New York Film Critics means more to me than the Academy Award.
Really?
Quote me. Oh, yeah.
Now, why? Why do you feel that way?
Well, the Academy Award is 6,000 people voting.
Right.
So you don't know if they're really, really, really voting on what they love and believe in. They're not cheating or anything. I don't mean that.
No, but they're influenced.
it's their own thing, you know. I mean, you got mostly actors voting, and they're voting about direction. At least in New York, you have real critics.
Now we have a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was lucky. I mean, that meant a lot to me to win the best direction for that movie, because it's a very tough movie, because it looks deceptively simple, but it wasn't. I shot New York in 1951 or 2, with 2 weeks in New York and 8 weeks in Montreal. It's all fake. Everything is fake, and you could never tell it. And I was very lucky. The one person I had for most of my career, who's now dead, was my production designer. His name was Tonto Guzman, and he was like a right hand to me, like a brother.
Right.
If you're lucky, you'll find that.
Now, when you're directing, are you more concerned about performance and you deal with the technical aspects ahead of time, so you turn it over to the DP, or? Well,
I plan out the movie. First is the writing. Writing, in many ways, is the toughest. Okay.
Right.
I've had the good fortune to write with 3 or 4 wonderful writers, and then I've written half a dozen scripts myself. And I think my scripts have been, and they have been highly rewarded with the Oscar nominations, no doubt about it. But first comes the script. Secondly comes getting the money. That's a nightmare. Thirdly, I get together with the production designer, the guy I told you about, my pal, and we start to think about, what's this movie going to look like?
Right.
Where are we going to shoot it? And if you're lucky, you can get a studio behind you and get some money. You start looking for locations and start making little drawings, start talking about color and whatever. I'm very good with actors because I'm an actor.
Right.
So that's the next step, is casting, and you need a good casting director. You can't do it yourself. And after you cast it, you get a cameraman. And when you've got the cameraman, everything you've planned may go out the window, because he or she might have other ideas, but generally there is like a gestalt that comes together in a good way. And I think you have to be open to suggestions.
Right.
So then you do the movie, and then you're under another pressure, which you'll find, which is time. It's a big pressure.
Yeah, it's now we have a text board here, and people are listening and they're texting in, and Christopher J is asking, what type of Hollywood professional is the most difficult to deal with? The producers, the directors, writers, execs? Who's the most difficult for you?
I think I'm against textbooks, first of all. I don't know the answer to that. It depends on the person. It depends on who you are.
Right. You've got some producers who are a pain in the ass, and you got others that are sweethearts.
Others are
like
wonderful.
Alan Ladd that says, go and do it.
He was great. Alan Ladd Jr. was great.
Yeah.
Mike Frankovich was great. Frank Price was great. These guys were all huge supporters and very supportive, and then left me alone. I didn't see them again until they saw the first cut.
That's great.
And they'd have notes and ideas, but they were very helpful.
Right.
They're not stupid. But I think now you're dealing more with corporate thinking. There's more people involved in trying to get in on the picture.
Do you find it's changed a lot from a time period where... I heard Zanuck was saying, it used to be we'd sit down and get excited about what would make a great picture, and we just figured people would come if we made a great picture, and now it's who's in it. It doesn't matter what the concept is, who committed to it. And,
no, it's more than that. It's that, plus it's, will it open big on Friday?
Right.
That's their big concern.
Wild Hogs did 38 million.
But nevertheless, through the cracks, every year there's about 10 good movies. So that's okay.
Right. Were you happy with the Academy Awards this year? Was there anything that...
Well, I was happy because I took my 8.5-year-old granddaughter to see it.
Oh, wow, that's great. What a great experience for her.
She met Helen Mirren.
Oh, now I was told that Helen Mirren was strikingly beautiful and was stunning at the awards. Is that true?
Well, she looked great. No, but I know her a little bit, so I introduced my granddaughter. I said, Molly, this is the Queen.
Sweet. Nice.
And Helen Mirren said some delightful things to her. And then when we went upstairs, Molly said to me, who is she the Queen of?
That's great.
Because she didn't know who she was.
But isn't it great that the kid got the moment? The kid may not even realize the moment she had, but she will later on in life, and it's going to be a story she'll tell for the rest of her life.
She had a black dress, and she looked beautiful. And
that's great.
It was okay. I'm on the board of governors of the Academy. I like going to the Academy, but awards are a weird thing. It's enough to be nominated. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's you've had a hell of a career, and you continue with. Oh, and before someone else here is asking. Angie Caro is asking, what was your inspiration getting into film and entertainment in general? What was your inspiration?
Well, I was a kid in Brooklyn in the 30s and 40s, and I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be Humphrey Bogart and Errol Flynn and John Garfield and all those guys. So my inspiration was the movies. I had no thought of directing or writing or any of that. And then one thing led to another, as I told you earlier, and that was it. But I was very serious by the time I was like 15, 16 years old about acting. I cannot explain it or tell you why. And by the time I got to Brooklyn College, pretty much all I did is act in plays. Somehow I passed everything, but I spent most of my time acting. And then I got lucky. While I was still a senior, some guy came up to me and had seen me in a tiny little off-Broadway play. And he said, "You're very good, and I got a part for you in a movie I wrote. Would you go read for this new director?" So I went and read for him, and his name was Stanley Kubrick. And I got the part.
Wow.
And then I got lucky and got a part in Blackboard Jungle with the great director. His name I can't remember. He did. Richard Brooks.
Richard Brooks.
Yeah, Glenn Ford was in it. Anyway, I wanted to be an actor, and that's what got me going. Hey, listen, I got to go.
Well, hang on 1 second before you run. Tell us about the play real quick that's going on in Los Angeles at the Hayward Theater on Wilshire, and it opens March 9th. Can you tell us about that real quick?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the main reason we're talking. It's a play called The Catskill Sonata, and it's written by Michael Elias,
who wrote The Jerk.
Writer.
He wrote The Jerk.
And
he was on last week.
Michael was born in the Catskills. The Catskills, for those who don't know, was this great resort area in New York where mostly Jewish people would go for the summer in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and it was a lot of fun. And you didn't have to be very rich to go, and you get out of the city. And this play is about a kind of left-wing leaning hotel. And I also worked in the Catskills, by the way. I worked there for about 4 summers.
Politically, lefties. Politically, they're a bunch of liberals.
They were
right?
a lot of them were politically to the left, and this covers the time of the McCarthy hearings, which was a terrible time in the history of the United States. And I would say it's got a lot of humor, but it's a serious comedy. Okay. That's how I would describe it.
And you've got
a great play.
You got a great comedic actor, my friend Zach Norman.
Zach is wonderful. He's a wonderful guy. He was a stand-up comic.
Zach was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So and
did he step on the glass for you?
No, I'm Irish, but
So what?
he shook up my buddy Joe Murphy and proclaimed him that he was the only Jew at the wedding, and the guy almost fell out of despair.
Zach's a great guy. Yeah, can I tell you something funny? Here's a funny story. The movie takes place in like 1957 or something.
Yeah.
I mean the play.
Yeah.
So everybody's getting their costumes from the costumer, and Zach shows up with the perfect jacket. I said, "Where'd the costumer find this absolutely fabulous 1957 jacket?" He said, "It's mine."
He opened
he still has his clothes, and he hasn't gained a pound, I guess. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Funny guy.
I like him a lot.
He's actually going to.
We have a lot of other good people in it. We've got a guy named Kip Gilman, Lisa Chess, Lisa Robbins, a young actor named Darryl who's fantastic, Jeff Corbett, the great Ilya Baskin, who played the clown in Moscow on the Hudson.
Oh, right, he's terrific.
Stalin. Yeah, he plays Joe Stalin.
He's terrific.
There's a dream scene. Yeah, there's a great dream scene in it. And a lovely girl. Oh, I can't think of her name right now, but the young girl, the young waiter and the young girl.
That you said enough. If it's a young girl, everybo's there. That's all I need to know. She's
okay.
22, and everybody will be there. And
okay.
I know your opening night is already sold out, and you got everybody in the world coming to it. So it's very exciting. I can't wait to see it. And look forward to seeing you.
I'll see you there.
Thank you, Mr. Mazursky.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.